Wisdom of the Middle Way. Nagarjuna's Mulamadhyamakakarika. Translation and commentary by J. L. Garfield. Part 2, the text and commentary. Chapter 24, Examination of the Four Noble Truths. While Chapter 24 ostensibly concerns the Four Buddhist Truths and the way they are to be understood from the vantage point of emptiness, it is really about the nature of emptiness itself and about the relation between emptiness and conventional reality. As such, it is the philosophical heart of Mulamadhyamakakarika. The first 6 verses of the chapter, Ziv. 1-6, present a reply to Nagarjuna's doctrine of emptiness by an opponent charging the doctrine with nihilism. The next 8 verses, Ziv. 7-14, are primarily rhetorical, castigating the opponent for his misunderstanding of Madhyamika. The positive philosophical work begins with Ziv. 15. From this point, Nagarjuna offers a theory of the relationship between emptiness, dependent origination, and convention, and argues not only that these three can be understood as correlative, but that if conventional things, or emptiness itself, were non-empty, the very nihilism with which the reificationist opponent charges Madhyamika would ensue. This tactic of arguing not only against each extreme but of arguing that the contradictory extremes are in fact mutually entailing is, as we have seen in earlier chapters, a dialectical trademark of Nagarjuna's philosophical method. In this chapter, it is deployed with exceptional elegance and acuity.
The opponent opens the chapter by claiming that if the entire phenomenal world were empty, nothing would in fact exist, a conclusion absurd on its face and, more importantly, contradictory to fundamental Buddhist tenets such as the Four Noble Truths, Ziv. 1-6, as well as to conventional wisdom. 1. If all of this is empty, neither arising, nor ceasing, then for you, it follows that the Four Noble Truths do not exist. The Four Noble Truths are, 1. All life in cyclic existence is suffering. 2. There is a cause of this suffering, namely, craving caused by ignorance. 3. There is a release from suffering. 4. The path to that release is the Eightfold Buddhist path of right view, right concentration, right mindfulness, right speech, right effort, right action, right morality, right livelihood. The Four Noble Truths, preached by the Buddha in his first teaching after gaining enlightenment, are the fundamental philosophical tenets of Buddhism. If it were a consequence of Nagarjuna's doctrine of emptiness that the Four Noble Truths were in fact false or, more radically, non-existent, that would constitute in this philosophical context an
immediate refutation of the position. This is not because these assertions are articles of faith, in the sense of revealed doctrine, but because anyone arguing within this framework has accepted the arguments for them. 2. If the Four Noble Truths do not exist, then knowledge, abandonment, meditation, and manifestation will be completely impossible. Once we reject the Four Noble Truths, the essential ingredients of Buddhist practice become unintelligible. Knowledge of the ultimate nature of things becomes impossible since all of the knowledge gained in this tradition is knowledge of things that accords with the truths. Abandonment of error and craving, and eventually of cyclic existence, becomes unintelligible without the context of the analysis contained in the truths. Meditation loses its point. The Eightfold Path becomes a path to nowhere. This all amounts to a rejection of the entire Buddhist Dharma, one of the 3 jewels in which Buddhists take refuge, the others being the Buddha and the Sangha, or the spiritual community of Buddhist practitioners and teachers.
3. If these things do not exist, the 4 fruits will not arise. Without the 4 fruits, there will be no attainers of the fruits. Nor will there be the faithful. 4. If so, the spiritual community will not exist. Nor will the 8 kinds of person. If the Four Noble Truths do not exist, there will be no true Dharma. These verses highlight these implications regarding the Dharma, but also point out that the rejection of the Four Noble Truths entails the non-existence of the Sangha. For absent practice and the fruits of the path, that is, realization and accomplishment, there will be no practitioners and realizers. 5. If there is no doctrine and spiritual community, how can there be a Buddha? If emptiness is conceived in this way, the three jewels are contradicted.
The whole point of the Dharma and the Sangha is to make it possible to attain Buddhahood. The Dharma provides the philosophical insight and knowledge necessary for enlightenment, and the Sangha provides the teachers, the encouragement, the models, the opportunity for practice, and other support necessary for the strenuous and perseverant practice of the path. The attainment of Buddhahood requires reliance on these two. So, if they are rejected, so is the possibility of Buddhahood. So, the opponent charges Nagarjuna's doctrine of emptiness, in virtue of undermining the Four Noble Truths, denies the existence of the three refuges and makes Buddhism itself impossible. 6. Hence you assert that there are no real fruits, and no Dharma. The Dharma itself and the conventional truth will be contradicted. The implicit dilemma with which Nagarjuna here confronts himself is elegant. For as we have seen, the distinction between the two truths or two vantage points, the ultimate and the conventional, is fundamental to his own method. So when the opponent charges that the assertion of the non-existence of such things as the Four Noble Truths and of the arising, abiding, and ceasing of entities is contradictory both to conventional wisdom and to the ultimate truth, viz., that all phenomena are dependent, impermanent, merely arising, abiding momentarily and ceasing, and only existing conventionally, empty of inherent existence, Nagarjuna is forced to defend himself on both fronts and to comment on the connection between these standpoints. Nagarjuna launches the reply by charging the opponent with foisting the opponent's own understanding of emptiness on Nagarjuna. Though this is not made as explicit in the text as one might like, it is important to note that the understanding Nagarjuna has in mind is one that, in the terms of Madhyamika, reifies emptiness itself. This will be made more explicit in Kshiv 16.
7. We say that this understanding of yours of emptiness and the purpose of emptiness, and of the significance of emptiness, is incorrect. As a consequence, you are harmed by it. 8. The Buddha's teaching of the Dharma is based on two truths: a truth of worldly convention and an ultimate truth. This is the first explicit announcement of the two truths in the text. It is important to note that they are introduced as two truths, and that they are introduced as distinct. This will be important to bear in mind later. For it is tempting, since one of the truths is characterized as an ultimate truth, to think of the conventional as less true. Moreover, we will see later that while the truths are introduced as quite distinct here, they are in another sense identified later. It will be important to be very clear about the respective senses in which they are distinct and one. The term translated here as truth of worldly convention, tib, kuanadizo bidenpa, skt. Samvriti satya, denotes a truth dependent upon tacit agreement, an everyday truth, truth about things as they appear to accurate ordinary investigation, as judged by appropriate human standards. The term ultimate truth